Chosen one, why do you feel like a stranger in your own life? Why does it seem like everyone else got the manual for success while you're still searching for your purpose? Why, at this stage of your journey, does it feel like God has forgotten your address? Chosen one, if you are hearing this, it is not by accident. This is not the algorithm. This is not coincidence. This is God calling you by name. And you have one day, just one day to respond. Listen, do you hear that? That's the sound of a divine door creaking open. But here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know: this door won't stay open forever. Right now, at this very second, heaven has opened a narrow window over your life. A window that's been sealed for years, maybe decades. You've been waiting for a sign, praying for clarity, begging God to speak. Well, He's speaking now. But here's what will shake you to your core. If you scroll past this message, if you let this moment slip away, it may be years before heaven opens this window again. This isn't motivation. This is activation. This isn't inspiration. This is divine intervention. You see, while you've been wondering why your prayers hit the ceiling, God has been orchestrating this exact moment. Every heartbreak, every closed door, every sleepless night, it was all leading to this sacred intersection between your desperation and His declaration. Before we go deeper, and what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about your destiny, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. That sound, that's your breakthrough train pulling into the station. But it's not waiting, it's moving. And you have a choice to make right now, in this moment, that will determine whether you climb aboard or watch it disappear into the distance of another missed opportunity. Can you feel it? That burning in your chest, that electric stirring in your spirit? That's not anxiety, that's recognition. Your soul recognizing the voice of its creator. If you feel this fire, if you feel the spirit stirring, type "I receive" or say it out loud right now. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Seal this moment with your declaration. Because chosen one, what happens in the next few minutes will either launch you into your destiny or leave you wondering what could have been. Your one day starts now. How many times have you felt God's whisper in your heart, only to let the noise of daily life drown it out? How many divine appointments have you missed because you told yourself, "I'll pray about it tomorrow"? How many doors has heaven opened for you that you let swing shut because you were too afraid, too busy, too comfortable to walk through? Dear chosen one, let me tell you something that will shake you to your very foundation. Right now, at this precise moment, there is a narrow window opening in the heavens above your life. But this window, this sacred portal of divine opportunity, it's not going to stay open forever. You see, God operates in appointed times. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." And beloved, this is your season. This is your appointed time. But seasons change, windows close, and once they do, they may not open again in your lifetime. Scripture declares in Hebrews 3:15, "Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel more ready. Today." Because God's voice carries an urgency that human hearts often miss until it's too late. One day. You have one day to respond to what He's speaking over your life right now. One day to step through the door He's holding open. One day to say yes to the calling that's been burning in your chest for decades. Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this might be the most important truth you'll ever hear. Every moment you've lived, every triumph, every heartbreak, every season of waiting has been preparing you for this singular moment of divine intersection. But the enemy knows the power of this hour, and he's working overtime to distract you, to make you scroll past, to convince you this is just another message. Think about it. How many people have you loved who are no longer here? How many conversations did you postpone until tomorrow that never came? How many times did you think you had more time, only to discover that time is the one thing you can never get back? Your grandmother who prayed over you as a child, she's gone. Your father who worked his fingers to the bone to provide, he's gone. Friends who promised to stay in touch, they've faded into memories. The job you meant to take, the trip you planned to make, the dream you told yourself you'd pursue someday. How many of these opportunities have already passed you by forever? But this moment is different. This moment carries the weight of eternity. God is not speaking to you through circumstances right now. He's not sending signs through other people. He's speaking directly to your spirit, cutting through every distraction, every doubt, every excuse you've been hiding behind. And he's saying, I've been patient. I've been waiting. But the window is closing. One day, just one day to stop making excuses about your age. One day to quit believing the lie that your best years are behind you. One day to remember that Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. Sarah was 90 when she conceived the impossible. Caleb was 85 when he declared, "Give me this mountain." The clock of heaven doesn't tick according to earthly time. When God decides to move in your life, age becomes irrelevant. Experience becomes your asset. Your scars become your credentials. But beloved, here's what's breaking my heart right now. I can sense some of you are already reaching for the scroll button, already telling yourself, this isn't really for me, already hardening your heart against the very voice that could transform your remaining years into the most significant chapters of your entire existence. Don't you dare scroll away. Don't postpone what heaven is offering you in this sacred moment. Don't let fear rob you of the breakthrough that's been waiting for your yes. Remember the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25. 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. The difference wasn't their faith. They all believed the bridegroom was coming. The difference was their readiness when he actually arrived. When the door finally opened, only those who were prepared could enter. For the others, the door was shut, and they heard the most heartbreaking words in all of Scripture. Truly I say to you, I do not know you. The oil in their lamps had run out. Their moment had passed. What if this message is your lamp being refilled? What if this urgency you're feeling isn't pressure but preparation? What if God is saying, I'm about to do something in your life that will amaze everyone who knows you, but I need your agreement now. Heaven is watching how you respond to this word. Angels are leaning in to see if you'll be like the wise virgins who kept their lamps burning, or like the foolish ones who missed their moment because they weren't paying attention. The question burning in the courts of heaven right now is this: will you be ready when your door opens, or will you spend the rest of your days wondering what could have been if you had simply said yes when God was speaking? Because make no mistake, dear one, what happens in the next few moments of this message will determine whether you step into the greatest chapter of your life, or whether you remain exactly where you are, carrying the weight of another missed opportunity. Dear chosen one, I need to ask you something that might cut deep. How many nights have you lain awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why your life has been so hard? How many times have you whispered through tears, God, what did I do to deserve this? How many mornings have you awakened feeling like you're carrying stones in your chest, wondering if anyone, even the Almighty Himself, truly sees your pain? You've cried in silence, haven't you? Whispered prayers at 2 a.m. when the house was quiet and your heart was breaking, wondering if God heard, wondering if He cared, wondering if He had simply forgotten your address while blessing everyone else around you. Let me tell you something that will shake the very foundation of how you see your story. He did hear every whispered prayer, every silent tear, every desperate plea in the darkness. But here's what will stun you. He wasn't ignoring your cries. He was answering them in ways your human mind couldn't comprehend. Think about Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, flesh and blood thrown into a pit, sold like cattle to strangers. 17 years old, dreams shattered, family destroyed. Can you imagine the nights he spent in Egyptian slavery, wondering why God had given him visions of greatness, only to watch them crumble into dust? Genesis 37-28 tells us they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. 20 pieces. That's what his brothers thought he was worth. But here's the mystery that will transform your understanding of suffering. Every betrayal was building something. Every injustice was forging character. Every tear was watering seeds of a destiny so magnificent that it would save nations. Joseph didn't know it then, but his pit was preparation for his palace. You see, dear one, what looks like punishment to human eyes is often preparation in God's hands. Those sleepless nights when anxiety gripped your chest, that wasn't torment, that was training independence. Those financial struggles that left you choosing between groceries and medicine, that wasn't abandonment, that was education in faith. Those relationships that betrayed your trust, that wasn't cruelty, that was curriculum for compassion. Look at David, anointed as king while still a shepherd boy, then spent years running for his life through caves and wilderness. His own king, the man he served faithfully, wanted him dead. 1 Samuel 24-3 describes David hiding in the back of a cave while Saul searched for him with murder in his heart. Imagine being chosen by God for royalty, only to find yourself crawling through dirt, wondering if you'd misheard the voice of heaven. But in those caves, David wrote psalms that would comfort millions for thousands of years. Psalm 34-18 emerged from his pain. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Those weren't just pretty words, they were born from his own crushing. Let me speak directly to your heart now. You've wondered why your marriage fell apart after 40 years, why your children moved away and rarely call, why your body betrayed you with illness when you needed strength most, why the retirement you dreamed of became a season of isolation and struggle. What if I told you that every scar on your soul is actually a map? A divine roadmap showing exactly where God has been preparing you for something your current pain cannot even imagine. Your tears aren't waste, they're seeds. Seeds of a coming harvest that will feed not just you, but everyone who witnesses your resurrection. Here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize your perspective. Your heartbreak wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The loneliness taught you empathy for the forgotten. The financial struggle taught you trust beyond circumstances. The health battles taught you that life is measured not in years, but in impact. The betrayals taught you how to love without condition. Every wound carved out space in your heart for compassion that could never have existed without the cutting. Romans 8:28 promises, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, not some things, all things." Even the things that nearly destroyed you, even the seasons that felt like spiritual death, even the people who walked away when you needed them most. You thought you were surviving random suffering, but God was strategically preparing you for an assignment so significant that it required this exact combination of pain and perseverance. You weren't being punished for hidden sins. You were being prepared for revealed glory. The widow who lost her husband of 50 years becomes the voice that comforts other widows. The man who battled addiction becomes the lifeline for those still trapped. The woman who survived abuse becomes the shelter for the broken. Your pain wasn't pointless, it was purposeful. Right now, I want you to do something that might feel uncomfortable. Wherever you are in your living room, your kitchen, your bedroom, I want you to whisper these words. Lord, I trust the pain was not wasted. Say it again, and feel the truth settling into places in your heart that have been closed for years. Your suffering was seed time, your trials were training. Your wilderness was not punishment, it was preparation for a promise so beautiful that every tear will be worth it. But here's the urgency that should grip your heart. The preparation season is ending. The assignment season is beginning. And everything you've endured is about to make perfect sense as God reveals why He trusted you with such precise pain to prepare you for such extraordinary purpose. Listen to me carefully, dear chosen one. Right now, as these words reach your ears, there are 7.5 billion people on this planet. 7.5 billion souls walking this earth at this very moment. Yet out of all those billions, out of every heartbeat echoing across every continent, every prayer whispered in every language, every tear shed in silence, you are here. You are listening. You found this message. What are the odds of that? What are the mathematical chances that your finger would pause on this exact video, at this exact moment, on this exact day, when God has something urgent to tell you? The answer will shock you. It's not odds, it's orchestration. Jeremiah 1-5 declares something that will shatter every lie you've believed about yourself. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Before your first heartbeat, before your first breath, before your mother even knew she was carrying you, the Creator of the universe had already written your name in fire across heaven's scroll. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to know. Here's the truth that will make hell tremble when you finally understand it. You think you're listening to this by accident. You think your restless spirit, your sleepless nights, your deep hunger for something more is just getting older. No, beloved. That's your divine alarm clock going off. That's God calling you by name. And He's been calling you for a very specific reason. You see, most people live their entire lives and never hear their true calling. They're born, they exist, they die, and they never once feel the weight of eternal purpose pressing down on their souls. But you've always felt different, haven't you? You've always sensed there was something more. Something deeper, something that this world couldn't satisfy. That restlessness isn't a curse, it's confirmation. You are marked, you are chosen, you are set apart. But wait, I know what you're thinking. I'm 73 years old. I'm 68. I'm 85. My time has passed. If God was going to use me, wouldn't He have done it already? Stop right there. That's the biggest lie Satan has ever whispered in your ear. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from a burning bush to deliver an entire nation from slavery. 80. When the world would have put him in a nursing home, God handed him a staff and said, "Now your real work begins." Anna Grandma Moses didn't pick up her first paintbrush until she was 78 years old. 78! And she became one of America's most celebrated folk artists, painting masterpieces well into her 90s. Colonel Harlan Sanders was 65, broke and living on Social Security when he started Kentucky Fried Chicken. 65, the age when society says you should be winding down. He was just getting started. Sarah was 90 years old when she gave birth to Isaac, the child of promise. 90. Her womb was dead, her time was past, her season was over. But God specializes in impossible timing. Do you understand what this means for your life right now? You're not too late. You're right on time. The delays weren't God forgetting about you. They were God preparing you. Every heartbreak taught you compassion. Every loss taught you dependence. Every closed door taught you to trust His timing instead of your own. While others were climbing ladders, you were climbing mountains of faith. While they were building careers, you were building character. While they were accumulating wealth, you were accumulating wisdom. And now, when the world needs authentic voices more than ever, when confusion reigns and fear spreads like wildfire, God is awakening His seasoned warriors. You've been in basic training for 7 decades. Now it's time for active duty. Think about it. Why do you think you've survived everything you've survived? The heart attack that should have taken you, the cancer that should have destroyed you, the depression that should have drowned you, the financial ruin that should have broken you. You're still here for a reason. You're still breathing because your assignment isn't complete. That fire you feel burning in your chest right now, that's not indigestion. That's the Holy Spirit confirming what your spirit already knows. Your calling doesn't have an expiration date. Your purpose doesn't retire. Your anointing doesn't age out. The world looks at your gray hair and sees decline. God looks at your gray hair and sees a crown of wisdom. The world sees your wrinkles and thinks worn out. Heaven sees your wrinkles and reads them like a roadmap of faithfulness. You are not fading, beloved. You are finally awakening. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. This window won't stay open forever. This divine appointment has an expiration time. And if you don't respond to what God is saying today, if you let fear convince you that your season has passed, you may miss the greatest chapter of your entire existence. Heaven's scroll with your name written in fire is unfurling right now. Your divine assignment is being downloaded from the throne room of God. The angels are taking their positions. The stage is being set. The curtain is about to rise on the most important act of your life. The question that will echo through eternity is this: when God calls your name, will you answer, "Here am I, send me," or will you whisper, "I'm too old, find someone else"? If you believe God still has work for you, if you feel that fire burning in your bones, if you sense that your greatest days are not behind you but ahead of you, declare it right now. Type it, say it, shout it to the heavens. My time is not over. Because, chosen one, what God is about to reveal to you next will prove that everything you've been through was preparation for what you're about to step into. You know what's killing your breakthrough. It's not your age. It's not your past mistakes. It's not even your circumstances. It's the two deadliest words in the English language. Not yet. How many times have you felt God's nudge and whispered, "Tomorrow, Lord"? How many divine appointments have you postponed because the timing didn't feel perfect? How many doors of destiny have you watched slam shut because you hesitated just 1 second too long? Listen to me, chosen one. Every single day you delay obedience, you're not just postponing your blessing, you're risking losing it entirely. Let me tell you about a man named Jonah. God spoke crystal clear. Go to Nineveh. Simple instruction, clear direction. But Jonah looked at that assignment and said, "Not yet, God. That's too hard, too dangerous, too uncomfortable." So he bought a ticket in the opposite direction. What happened next? The storm hit. The ship nearly sank. Jonah found himself in the belly of a whale for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days of darkness, 3 days of regret, 3 days of what the psalmist calls the belly of hell. But here's the shocking truth about delay. Jonah eventually obeyed. He preached to Nineveh. The city repented. Lives were saved. But listen carefully. Everything Jonah accomplished could have happened 3 days earlier without the trauma, without the whale, without the near-death experience. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. 1 day, 1 choice, 1 yes. Now let me paint you a different picture. A 5-foot-tall woman born into slavery in Maryland around 1822, Harriet Tubman. She could have stayed safe on that plantation, could have kept her head down, minded her own business. But when God whispered, "Go back and get them," she didn't hesitate. She didn't say tomorrow. She said, "Yes, Lord." 19 trips back into slave territory, 300 souls led to freedom, a $40,000 bounty on her head that's over $1 million in today's money. Every step was dangerous. Every decision was life or death. But when heaven spoke, Harriet moved. She once said, "I always told God, I'm going to hold steady on you, and you've got to see me through." And he did, every single time. The difference between Jonah and Harriet: speed of obedience. Jonah hesitated and suffered. Harriet obeyed and became legendary. 1 day, 1 choice, 1 yes. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep into your soul. What divine whisper have you been ignoring? What holy nudge have you been pushing away? What clear instruction from heaven are you still analyzing, still praying about, still waiting for confirmation on? You think you're being wise, you think you're being careful, but wisdom without action is just educated disobedience. Caution without movement is just fear dressed up in spiritual language. The children of Israel wandered in the wilderness for 40 years, for what should have been an 11-day journey. Why? Because when God said go up and possess the land, they sent spies instead. They analyzed instead of acted. They delayed instead of obeyed. Deuteronomy 1:21 records Moses' frustrated words. "See, the Lord your God has given you the land. Go up and take possession of it as the Lord, the God of your ancestors, told you. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged." But they were afraid. They were discouraged. They hesitated. And an entire generation died in the desert, never seeing the promise they were meant to inherit. One day, one choice, one yes. Right now, as I'm speaking these words, there's a divine assignment hovering over your life. You feel it, don't you? That restless stirring in your chest. That holy discomfort that won't let you settle for where you are. That's not anxiety, beloved. That's anticipation. Heaven is waiting for your response. But here's what terrifies me for you. Every day you wait, the window gets smaller. Every tomorrow you speak makes the voice of God a little fainter. Every delay builds another wall between you and your destiny. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." This is your season. This is your time. This is your purpose knocking at the door of your hesitation. Look at the clock on your wall. Look at the calendar on your phone. Time is not neutral. Time is either your ally when you obey quickly, or your enemy when you delay endlessly. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from the burning bush. 80. He could have said, "God, I'm too old. My speech isn't perfect. Send someone else." But when the Almighty speaks, age becomes irrelevant. Limitations become launching pads. Excuses become extinct. One day, one choice, one yes. What would happen if you stopped negotiating with God and started obeying Him? What if you quit making deals with heaven and started making moves? What if today, this very day, you finally said what Harriet said? "Yes, Lord, I'm going to hold steady on you." The prophet Samuel declared in 1 Samuel 15:22, "To obey is better than sacrifice." God doesn't want your perfect plans. He wants your immediate yes. He doesn't need your flawless execution. He needs your faithful submission. So I'm asking you right now, with the weight of eternity in this moment, will you be a Jonah or a Harriet? Will you delay and suffer or obey and soar? Say it out loud right now. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just open your mouth and declare, "Yes, Lord, I will not delay." Because, chosen one, your one day is today. Your moment is now. And heaven is holding its breath, waiting for your answer. Dear chosen one, I need to ask you something that might cut deep into your soul. How long have you been surviving on scraps when God prepared a feast? How many years have you convinced yourself that struggling was spiritual, that poverty was piety, that barely making it was somehow making you holy? Stop right there. That's a lie straight from the pit of hell. You've been living beneath your inheritance, accepting crumbs when you own the bakery. While you've been apologizing for dreaming big, God has been preparing something so massive, so overwhelming, that if He'd released it any sooner, it would have destroyed you instead of blessing you. But you're ready now. After all those years of testing, refinement, and preparation, you're finally ready for abundance. Listen to what Psalm 65:11 declares with thunderous authority. "You crown the year with your goodness, and your paths drip with abundance." Not trickle, not barely flow. They drip with abundance. That means overflow. That means more than enough. That means excess that spills over onto everyone around you. You walked through deserts, didn't you? Financial deserts where every month was a miracle if you made ends meet. Emotional deserts where loneliness felt like your permanent address. Spiritual deserts where heaven seemed silent as stone. But here's what the enemy never wanted you to know. Those deserts weren't your destination. They were your preparation. Because God is bringing you to rivers. Rivers overflowing with provision, purpose, and peace. Rivers so deep you can't touch the bottom, so wide you can't see the other side, so powerful they wash away every limitation that ever held you back. Think about Job. This man lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. For months, He sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, wondering if God had forgotten his name. But Job 42:10 records something that will shatter your theology of lack. The Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Double for the trouble. That's not just restoration, that's divine mathematics. That's God's economy, where your setbacks become your comebacks, where your breakdowns become your breakthroughs. And I'm here to tell you tonight that your Job season is ending. The restoration isn't coming, it's here. The abundance isn't approaching, it's arriving. The overflow isn't someday, it's starting now. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty so severe she wore potato sacks for dresses, abused, abandoned, told she was worthless. But something inside her refused to accept that as her final story. Today, she's not just wealthy, she's a wealth creator. She doesn't just have abundance, she is abundance, pouring into millions of lives across the globe. Tyler Perry slept in his car, broke and broken, watching his plays fail one after another. But he kept writing, kept believing, kept trusting that his pain had purpose. Now he owns one of the largest production studios in America, employing thousands, inspiring millions. Steve Harvey was homeless at 50, sleeping in his car with 3 suits hanging in the back. Today, he hosts multiple television shows, owns real estate empires, and mentors the next generation of dreamers. What do they all have in common? They refuse to let their temporary circumstances become their permanent identity. They understood that abundance isn't about what you have, it's about what flows through you. But here's what will shock you. Your abundance won't look like theirs. God has customized a blessing package specifically for you. Jeremiah 29:11 promises, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, to give you hope and a future." Those plans aren't generic, they're personalized. God didn't create a one-size-fits-all blessing. He crafted something so unique, so perfectly tailored to your gifts, your calling, your story, that when it manifests, the world will know it could only come from Him. You are stepping into the season of overflow, not the season of just enough, not the season of barely making it, the season where your cup doesn't just fill up, it runs over, where your barns aren't just full, they're bursting, where your joy isn't just restored, it's multiplied. This abundance will come in waves. First, financial breakthrough that erases debt and establishes generational wealth. Then relational restoration that heals hearts and rebuilds bridges. Then spiritual authority that moves mountains and changes atmospheres. Then physical vitality that defies medical reports and confounds doctors. Layer upon layer, wave upon wave, blessing upon blessing. But here's the catch. Abundance requires agreement. You can't receive what you won't believe. You can't walk into what you won't acknowledge. You can't step into overflow while speaking underflow. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to lift your hands toward heaven. Don't be embarrassed. Don't worry about who's watching. This is your moment of agreement with abundance. Lift your hands where you are and say, "I receive abundance." Say it again, louder. "I receive abundance." Because chosen one, the rivers are rising, the floodgates are opening, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what God has already released over your life. But the question that will determine everything is this: will you step into the overflow, or will you keep standing on the shore watching other people swim in the abundance that was meant for you? Chosen one, we've reached the moment of truth, the crossroads where eternity meets decision, where divine invitation collides with human choice. You can feel it, can't you? The weight of this moment pressing down on your chest like the calm before a thunderstorm. For the past hour, heaven has been speaking. Not in whispers, but in declarations. Not in suggestions, but in commands. And now, in this sacred silence, one question echoes through the corridors of your soul. What will you do with what you've heard? Listen carefully. Right now, Jesus Christ Himself stands at the door of your heart, knocking. Revelation 3:20 tells us, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in." But here's what terrifies hell itself, that knock won't continue forever. That divine invitation has an expiration date. How many times have you heard God's voice and turned away? How many divine appointments have you missed because comfort felt safer than calling? How many moments has heaven waited for your yes, only to watch you choose silence instead? Dear one, let me ask you something that will cut straight to your spirit. What if this is your final invitation? What if the very struggle that brought you to this message, the loneliness, the confusion, the desperate hunger for purpose, what if all of that was God's way of preparing your heart for this one moment of decision? You see, there's a reason why Matthew 22:14 declares, "Many are called, but few are chosen." It's not because God plays favorites. It's because few are willing to pay the price that being chosen demands. Few are willing to leave the familiar for the unknown. Few are willing to trust God's voice over the crowd's opinion. The chosen ones aren't the perfect ones. They're the obedient ones. They're the ones who hear heaven's knock and open the door, regardless of how unprepared they feel. Right now, in this very moment, you're standing at that door. Behind you lies everything you've always known, the safe routines, the predictable struggles, the comfortable cage of mediocrity. Ahead of you lies the unknown territory of divine purpose, where your obedience to God's voice becomes the key that unlocks not just your destiny, but the destinies of countless others waiting for someone like you to rise. But here's the brutal truth that will shake you to your core. You cannot stay neutral. Silence is a choice. Scrolling away is an answer. Ignoring this stirring in your chest is still a response to God's invitation, and that response will echo through eternity. Think about the rich young ruler in Mark 10. Jesus looked at him with love and said, "Come, follow me." But the text says he went away sad because he had great possessions. He wasn't evil. He wasn't rebellious. He was just unwilling to let go of what he knew to embrace what God offered. And that unwillingness cost him everything. Is that you? Are you so attached to your current struggle that you're afraid to trust God with something better? Are you so comfortable in your spiritual mediocrity that the thought of being truly chosen terrifies you? Let me tell you what's really happening in this moment. Hell is holding its breath, praying you'll scroll away. Demons are whispering in your ear, "You're not special. This isn't real. Don't be foolish." But heaven is leaning forward, watching, waiting, hoping that after all these years of calling your name, you'll finally answer. Your deceased loved ones who prayed for your salvation, they're watching from the cloud of witnesses. Your grandchildren who need to see what real faith looks like, their future depends on your decision right now. The stranger you'll meet next week who's contemplating suicide, they need to encounter the version of you that said yes to God's call. This is not just a message. This is your divine wake-up call. This is the moment heaven has been orchestrating your entire life. Every heartbreak was preparation. Every disappointment was positioning. Every closed door was redirection, leading to this open door that won't stay open forever. So I ask you one final time, will you obey or will you scroll away? Will you rise into the calling that's been hunting you for decades? Or will you remain silent, hoping for another chance that may never come? The clock is ticking, the door is open, the invitation is extended, but the choice is yours. If you're ready to stop running from your destiny, if you're tired of living beneath your calling, if something in your spirit is screaming, yes, even while your mind lists 1,000 reasons to hesitate, then seal this moment with your declaration. Comment, write, whisper aloud, "Yes, Lord, I am chosen." Don't leave without sealing this sacred moment. Don't let fear rob you of the very thing your soul has been crying out for. Your one day is almost over. What will you choose? Now that heaven has spoken over your life, now that you've felt that fire burning in your chest, let me tell you what's about to happen next. Because, dear one, receiving God's word is just the beginning. What comes after the revelation will test everything you thought you believed about faith. Listen carefully. After every mountain comes a valley. After every burning bush comes a wilderness. After every divine encounter comes a season of silence so profound, so deafening, that you'll wonder if you imagined it all. You're about to enter what I call the midnight hour of your soul. Remember the parable Jesus told in Matthew chapter 25? 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom, 5 wise, 5 foolish. But here's what shakes me about this story. It wasn't their preparation that separated them, it was their endurance. When midnight came, when the waiting stretched longer than expected, when the oil began to run low, that's when the true test began. At midnight the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." Midnight, the darkest hour, when hope feels foolish and faith feels fragile. Chosen one, are you ready for your midnight hour? Because it's coming. And it's not coming to destroy you, it's coming to prove you. Right now, some of you are nodding because you're already there. You're already in that place where God's voice seems distant, where prayers feel like they're bouncing off a concrete ceiling, where every door you approach slams shut before you can even knock. You've been waiting so long that your bones ache with weariness. 70 years, 80 years, maybe more, and you're tired. Bone deep tired. The kind of tired that sleep can't touch. You've buried friends who started the race with you. You've watched younger generations sprint past you toward dreams that once belonged to you. And in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, you've whispered the question that terrifies you most. God, have you forgotten me? But here's the shocking truth that will either break your heart or set it on fire. What you call silence, God calls a setup. That stillness isn't absence, it's preparation. That waiting isn't waste, it's warfare. While you've been feeling forgotten, heaven has been orchestrating the greatest comeback of your lifetime. You see, the enemy knows something about you that you've forgotten about yourself. He knows that when your lamp finally blazes to life, when your oil finally flows freely, you won't just shine for yourself. You'll illuminate an entire generation that's stumbling in darkness. That's why he's worked overtime to snuff out your flame. That's why the silence has felt so suffocating. That's why every time you've tried to rise, circumstances have conspired to knock you down. But let me ask you something that will cut straight to your soul. How many times have you almost given up, yet something invisible kept you holding on? How many mornings have you awakened with just enough strength for one more day? How many nights have you fallen asleep whispering, "I don't understand, but I trust you"? That wasn't your strength, dear one. That was divine oil being poured into your lamp drop by drop, keeping your flame alive when everything around you was designed to extinguish it. The wise virgins in Jesus' parable didn't just bring oil, they brought extra oil. They prepared for the midnight hour. They knew that the deepest test would come not in the daylight of certainty, but in the darkness of doubt. And you've been living in midnight for so long, you've forgotten what dawn looks like. But here's what the foolish virgins didn't understand. Oil isn't purchased, it's cultivated. It's not bought, it's built. Every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've whispered through gritted teeth, every moment you've chosen faith over fear, that was oil being refined in the furnace of your faithfulness. Right now, place your hand over your heart. Feel that rhythm? That's not just blood pumping. That's the sound of a lamp that refuses to go out. That's the echo of an oil supply that's been building for decades. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. We're not just in any midnight hour. We're in the final midnight hour. The bridegroom's footsteps are echoing down the corridors of time. The cry is about to go out. Behold, he comes. And when that cry pierces the darkness, there will be no time to run to the store, no time to borrow oil from a neighbor, no time to scramble for preparation. You'll either have oil in your lamp or you won't. Some of you right now are feeling the weight of wasted years, the regret of opportunities missed, the shame of lamps that dimmed when they should have blazed. But listen to me carefully. Your past failures don't disqualify your future flame. The thief on the cross had wasted his entire life until the very last moment. Yet Jesus looked at him and said, Today you will be with me in paradise. One moment of oil, one flicker of faith, one drop of surrender, and eternity opened its arms. Your midnight hour isn't meant to mock you, it's meant to make you. It's not designed to diminish you, it's designed to define you. Every senior saint who has ever walked with God has faced this same test. Will you keep your lamp burning when the darkness feels infinite? Moses wandered 40 years before he saw the promised land. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Sarah laughed at 90 because the promise seemed impossible. But they kept their lamps burning, they maintained their oil, they endured the midnight. And now, as you stand at the threshold between your midnight and your miracle, the question remains: will you let your lamp go out now, or will you pray with everything in you? Lord, keep my lamp burning. Because, chosen one, the oil you've been storing in secret is about to fuel the flame that changes everything. Your midnight is almost over, and what's about to dawn will make every dark hour worth it. You've been asking the wrong question your entire life. You've been wondering, why me, when you should have been asking, why not me? Because here's the truth that will shatter everything you thought you knew about yourself. You didn't become chosen. You were born chosen. Look at your hands right now. Go ahead, look at them. Those lines, those scars, those weathered places where life has touched you, they're not accidents. They're not just marks of age or hardship. They are the invisible tattoos of the soul that only heaven can read. And dear chosen one, your soul is covered in divine ink. The world sees your wrinkles and calls them signs of decline. But God sees those same lines and reads them like a sacred scroll. Every disappointment that should have broken you but didn't. Every betrayal that should have made you bitter but couldn't. Every loss that should have destroyed your faith but only deepened it. These weren't random sufferings. These were divine markings, etching your spiritual credentials deeper and deeper into your being. You think you've been wandering through life aimlessly. You think those 70, 80, 90 years were just random existence. Listen to me carefully. Every single day was a divine appointment. Every tear was liquid anointing. Every struggle was heaven carving your authority into the very fiber of your spirit. Romans 11:29 declares with thunderous certainty, "For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable." Read that again. Irrevocable. That means no mistake can cancel it, no failure can erase it, no age can expire it. What God marked you with at birth, death itself cannot remove. But here's where it gets deeper, where the mystery unfolds like an ancient scroll being opened for the first time in centuries. You've been carrying these marks without even knowing it. You've been walking around with divine credentials, wondering why you felt different, why you never quite fit in anywhere, why success felt empty and approval felt hollow. Think about Joseph. His brothers saw a dreamer, his master saw a slave, Potiphar's wife saw a target, the prisoners saw a fellow convict. But God saw something none of them could perceive, a coat of many colors that was invisible to human eyes. Joseph carried the mark of rulership before he ever touched a throne. The coat wasn't just fabric, dear one. It was prophecy made visible. Consider David. His father saw the youngest, his brothers saw the least. King Saul saw a threat. But when Samuel looked upon that shepherd boy, he saw what heaven had already written, the mark of kingship. That sling wasn't just a weapon, it was the symbol of someone marked to bring down giants. And Esther, an orphan girl who became a queen. But she didn't become royal when she put on the crown. She was marked for royalty while she was still nameless and homeless. The crown simply revealed what heaven had already decreed. You've been living your life thinking you're ordinary, when you've been extraordinary all along. You've been apologizing for your intensity, when that intensity is your anointing. You've been trying to dim your light to make others comfortable, when that light is your divine signature. Here's what will shock you. The very things that made you feel like an outsider were actually the marks proving you're an insider in God's kingdom. Your sensitivity to spiritual things while others remained oblivious. Your inability to settle for surface-level relationships. your deep hunger for something more when everyone else seemed satisfied with less. These weren't personality flaws. These were divine markings. You thought you were broken because you felt everything so deeply. But dear chosen one, you were marked as an intercessor. You thought you were weird because you could sense things others couldn't. But heaven marked you as a prophet. You thought you were failing because nothing came easy. But God marked you as a warrior who would know how to fight battles others would surrender before they started. The enemy has spent decades trying to convince you that your marks were scars of shame, but they're seals of authority. That depression you survived didn't mark you as weak. It marked you as someone who could help others climb out of dark pits. That financial struggle didn't mark you as a failure. It marked you as someone who would know how to trust God when bank accounts run empty. That loneliness didn't mark you as unwanted. It marked you as someone who would become a refuge for other isolated souls. Every mark tells a story. Every story builds authority. Every authority carries assignment. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul right now. You've been walking around marked for greatness while living in mediocrity. You've been carrying divine credentials while accepting human limitations. You've been sealed for supernatural impact while settling for natural existence. You thought you were overlooked, but heaven marked you long before the world noticed you. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you finally acknowledge what God has written on your life? Will you stop hiding the marks and start walking in the authority they represent? If you know you are marked, if something in your spirit is confirming what I'm speaking right now, declare it. Say it out loud. I am sealed. Don't whisper it. Don't think it. Declare it with the authority of someone who finally understands they've been carrying heaven's signature their entire life. Because, chosen one, recognizing your marks is just the beginning. What God is about to reveal next about your assignment will leave you breathless. Beloved, let me ask you something that's going to cut straight to your heart. How many times have you looked in the mirror these past few years and whispered, "What was it all for?" How many sleepless nights have you spent wondering if all those decades of struggle, all those tears, all those battles you fought in silence, if any of it actually mattered? You buried your spouse. You raised children who now live 1,000 miles away. You worked 43 years at a job that forgot your name the day you retired. And now you sit in that same kitchen chair every morning, drinking coffee that tastes like yesterday's memories, wondering if you're just taking up space. But what if I told you everything you believed about your life's purpose was backwards? What if I told you that you haven't been surviving all these years you've been preparing? What if every heartbreak, every closed door, every moment you thought God had forgotten you was actually Him preparing you for the most important chapter of your entire existence? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. You think your story is winding down, but God says it's multiplying forward. See, you've been living inside a cocoon your whole life. Every struggle wrapped another layer around you. Every disappointment added another strand. Every tear became part of the silken walls that have been protecting something magnificent inside you. And right now, at this very moment, God is saying it's time to emerge. You are not a caterpillar anymore. You never were. You were always meant to fly. But here's what shakes me to my core about your generation. You've been conditioned to believe that 70, 80, 90 years old means it's time to shrink, time to step aside, time to let the young folks take over. That's not God's voice. That's society's lie. Moses was 80 when he parted the Red Sea. Abraham was 99 when God renewed his covenant. Sarah was 90 when she birthed nations. Your birth certificate doesn't determine your expiration date, your obedience does. Deuteronomy 28:11 declares something so powerful it should make your bones shake. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity, you and your children, and your children's children. Did you catch that? This isn't just about your breakthrough. This is about generational transfer. You are not the end of your bloodline story. You are the beginning of its redemption. Look at Tyler Perry, homeless at 30, sleeping in his car while writing plays nobody wanted to see. But he didn't give up. He understood something your generation knows, but the young don't, that persistence beats talent every single time. Today, he owns a 1,000-acre studio in Atlanta, employs thousands, and has broken generational poverty for families he'll never meet. Oprah Winfrey was born to a teenage mother in rural Mississippi. Abused, abandoned, told she was worthless. But she kept believing in something bigger than her circumstances. Now her voice reaches 1 billion people, her schools educate thousands of children in Africa, and her influence extends into eternity. Steve Harvey was 36 years old, divorced, broke, and living in his car when he decided to pursue comedy. 36. When most people think their dreams have expired, he was just getting started. Today, he hosts multiple shows, has written best-selling books, and provides for not just his family but entire communities. These aren't fairy tales, beloved. These are prophecies. They're proof that your latter days can be greater than your former days. They're evidence that what you thought was the end of your story was actually the intermission. But here's the question that's burning in my spirit right now. What if you're not supposed to be the one who receives the blessing? What if you're supposed to be the one who releases it? You've spent 7, 8, 9 decades learning what works and what doesn't. You've made the mistakes so your grandchildren don't have to. You've walked through fires so you could teach others how to find water in the desert. Every scar on your soul is a lesson plan for someone who's about to face the same battle. Your survival was never the goal. Your survival was the foundation. Think about this. Right now, there's a young person in your family, maybe your grandchild, maybe a neighbor who's on the verge of giving up. They're drowning in debt, suffocating in depression, convinced that people like them don't make it, and they need to see what you represent. They need to witness what happens when someone refuses to quit for 90 years. You are the ancestor someone prayed for. You are the answered prayer. Every night your grandmother fell asleep whispering, "Lord, let someone in this family make it." Every tear your mother cried while working 2 jobs was an investment in your inheritance. Every prayer your father prayed while walking to work because he couldn't afford a car was building toward this moment. You didn't just survive, you accumulated wisdom, experience, faith, perspective, and now it's time to transfer it. But here's what terrifies the enemy about your awakening. When you realize you're not retired from purpose, you become the most dangerous force on earth. You have nothing left to lose and everything eternal to give. You can speak truth without fear of getting fired. You can love without fear of heartbreak because you've already been broken and rebuilt. You can take risks because you've already survived the worst. Your life is not a conclusion, it's a distribution center for everything heaven invested in you. So tonight, I want you to do something that's going to shift the entire trajectory of your remaining years. Get out a piece of paper, write these words: "My legacy begins now, not my legacy was. Not my legacy might be. My legacy begins now." Because, chosen one, the butterfly doesn't look back at the cocoon and mourn what it left behind. It spreads its wings and shows the world what beauty can emerge from what looked like death. Your wings are unfurling. Your colors are brightening. Your flight pattern is about to inspire a generation that forgot how to soar. The question that will determine everything is this: will you finally spread your wings, or will you spend your remaining years convinced you're still crawling? Dear chosen one, I need you to stop everything you're doing right now and listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because the war you've been fighting, the battle that's left you scarred, exhausted, wondering if God has forgotten you, that war was never random. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep into your soul. Why do you think your life has been so much harder than others? Why have you faced storms that would have broken weaker people? Why have you endured betrayals, financial struggles, health battles, and heartaches that seem to come in waves just when you think you're getting ahead? Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. The attack was never about your past. It was about your future. You see, the enemy doesn't waste ammunition on nobodies. Hell doesn't deploy its finest warriors against people who pose no threat. Satan doesn't orchestrate elaborate schemes to destroy ordinary lives. But You've been in his crosshairs since day one. Think about this for a moment. Why would darkness mobilize against someone insignificant? Why would the forces of hell spend decades trying to keep you down, discouraged, defeated, because they saw something? They recognized something. They knew what God placed inside you before you even understood it yourself. Jesus himself warned us in John 10:10, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." But here's what most people miss about that verse. A thief never breaks into an empty house. Thieves don't waste their time on places with nothing valuable inside. The fact that you've been under attack your entire life is not evidence of God's absence. It's proof of your assignment. Every time they tried to break your spirit, they were trying to stop your calling. Every time they attempted to destroy your faith, they were fighting your future. Every sleepless night, every tear you cried in secret, every moment you wanted to give up, but somehow found the strength to keep going, that was spiritual warfare over your destiny. Let me tell you about your battlefield, chosen one. It started early, didn't it? Maybe in childhood when you felt different, misunderstood, like you carried a weight others couldn't see. Maybe in your 20s when doors slammed shut just as breakthrough seemed within reach. Maybe in your 40s when that marriage fell apart, or that business collapsed, or that dream died. Maybe in your 60s when you thought your best years were behind you. But what if I told you that every single battle was preparation? What if every wound was strategically allowed by God to build something inside you that could never have been developed in comfort? If your life felt like a battlefield, it's because you carry heaven's blueprint. David understood this. Before he was a king, he was hunted. Psalm 23 wasn't written in a palace. It was carved out in caves while running for his life. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Those words weren't theory. They were battle-tested truth from a man who learned that God's presence is most real when the enemy's attacks are most fierce. Job knew this too. Satan specifically asked God's permission to test him. Why? Because Job carried something so pure, so powerful, that hell itself had to get approval before launching an assault. And when it was over, Job didn't just survive, he was restored double. The attack was never about your past, it was about your future. Every financial setback was hell trying to prevent your prosperity. Every broken relationship was the enemy attempting to isolate you from your purpose. Every health battle was darkness fighting the life force that God breathed into you. Every moment of depression was a spiritual attack on the joy that's your inheritance. But here's what shakes me to my core, and here's what should revolutionize how you see your story. You're still here. After everything hell threw at you, you're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still believing. That's not luck, beloved. That's not accident. That's supernatural preservation. The enemy didn't fight you because you were weak. He fought you because you are unstoppable. Think about the Israelites in Egypt. Why did Pharaoh try to kill all the Hebrew baby boys? Because he knew a deliverer was coming. The attack on the innocent was hell's attempt to prevent the inevitable. But you can't stop what God has ordained. Moses survived, the deliverer rose, and freedom came. You survived too, chosen one. Every scheme to destroy you failed, because failure is the only option when hell goes to war with heaven's agenda. But now I need you to understand something that will change everything about how you walk forward. The season of being under attack is shifting. The enemy's window to stop you is closing. That feeling of urgency you've been sensing, that restlessness in your spirit, that's not anxiety, that's heaven announcing that your time of hiding is over. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." Not some weapons, not most weapons, no weapon. Every scheme, every plot, every attack designed to take you out has failed, because your destiny is sealed in the courts of heaven. Say it out loud right now. Don't whisper it. Declare it with the authority of someone who has survived hell's best shot. I am unstoppable in Christ. The war that tried to destroy you has actually prepared you for something magnificent, and what God is about to release through your life will make every battle worth it. Chosen one, for 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been sitting in that pew, listening, learning, absorbing. But what if I told you that your season of receiving is over and your time of releasing has begun? You see, there's a difference between being blessed and being sent. There's a chasm between being inspired and being commissioned. And right now, in this very moment, God is moving you from the audience to the stage, from the desert of preparation to the promised land of purpose. But here's the question that's burning in my spirit. How long are you going to keep asking God to use somebody else when He's been preparing you all along? Look at your hands. Those weathered hands that have changed diapers, signed mortgage papers, held dying relatives, wiped away tears. You think those hands are too old, too tired? Moses was 80 when God said, "Stretch out your hand over the Red Sea," 80 years old. Those weren't young hands that parted the waters. Those were hands seasoned by decades of disappointment and testing. You've been trained in the wilderness of rejection, refined in the fire of betrayal, educated in the university of heartbreak. And now God is saying what He said to Isaiah in chapter 6 verse 8, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" The prophet's response shook heaven. "Here am I, send me." But let me ask you something that might cut deep into your soul. What if your children stopped calling not because they don't love you, but because God is removing distractions so you can focus on the children He's about to send you? What if your retirement isn't about rest, but about reassignment? What if your empty nest isn't emptiness, but preparation for the multitudes God is about to place under your wings? You've been mourning what you lost when God has been preparing you for what you're about to gain. Think about this. Every rejection you faced was teaching you how to love the rejected. Every financial struggle was training you to trust when resources run low. Every health scare was developing your faith muscles for the impossible assignments ahead. You weren't just surviving those seasons, you were being equipped for service. You're not just here to be blessed, chosen one, you're here to be sent. The Apostle Paul understood this. In 2 Corinthians 1-4, he wrote, "Who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God." Your pain wasn't pointless. It was preparation for ministry. Your tears weren't wasted. They were weapons being forged for spiritual warfare. But here's what terrifies hell about your generation. You have nothing left to lose and everything eternal to gain. You're not afraid of man's opinion because you've survived man's rejection. You're not intimidated by giants because you've already defeated the ones in your own life. When a 65-year-old grandmother finally understands she's called to speak life into dead situations, demons tremble. When a 70-year-old grandfather realizes his voice carries the authority of decades walking with God, principalities panic. When an 80-year-old widow discovers her prayers can shift nations, hell declares a state of emergency. This is why the enemy worked so hard to convince you that your best days were behind you, because he knew if you ever realized your assigned time was now, his kingdom would be in trouble. You are no longer waiting for the move of God. You are the move of God. Moses didn't lead Israel out of Egypt in his 30s. He did it at 80. Caleb didn't conquer his mountain at 35. He claimed it at 85, declaring, "Give me this hill country. Your age isn't your disqualification, it's your ammunition." But here's the urgency burning in my spirit. This commissioning comes with a timeline. Ecclesiastes 3:1 reminds us, "To everything there is a season. Your season of sitting is ending. Your season of sending has arrived." And timing in the kingdom isn't negotiable. Right now, there are people in your neighborhood, your family, your community who are drowning in despair. They need someone who's been through hell and came out praising God. They need your testimony. They need your wisdom. They need your prayers. They need you to stop hiding behind your age and start operating in your authority. The woman at the well didn't wait until she had a theology degree. The moment she encountered Jesus, she ran into the city declaring, "Come, see a man who told me everything I ever did." Her past became her platform, her shame became her sermon, her story became her sending. Your story isn't over, chosen one. It's just changing genres, from tragedy to triumph, from victim to victor, from pew sitter to pulpit stander. But I need you to understand something crucial. This assignment isn't optional. When God says go, delayed obedience is disobedience. When He says speak, silence is sin. When He says send me, anything less than here am I is rebellion. The prophet Jonah tried to run from his assignment. It cost him 3 days in the belly of a whale. How much time are you willing to waste running from what God has already ordained? Look around you. This nation is hemorrhaging hope. Families are fracturing. Young people are lost. The church is confused. And God is raising up a generation of battle-tested warriors who've learned to trust Him in the dark. That's you. That's your tribe. That's your army. You're not being called to retirement. You're being called to deployment. This isn't your sunset. This is your sunrise. The best wine has been saved for last, and your vintage is ready to be poured out. So I'm asking you now, in this sacred moment, to stop running from your calling and start running toward it. Stop asking God to use someone younger and start saying what Isaiah said, "Here am I, send me." Declare it out loud right now. Don't whisper it, roar it. Send me, Lord. Because, chosen one, the kingdom needs what you carry, and the kingdom has been waiting long enough. Chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred encounter, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you like precious treasures in your heart. First, remember this. You are not an accident wandering through life hoping for purpose. You are an assignment wrapped in flesh, sent by heaven itself for such a time as this. Every gray hair on your head is a crown of wisdom. Every line on your face is a map of God's faithfulness. Your age is not your limitation, it is your qualification. Second, the one day I spoke of isn't just about urgency, it's about opportunity. Today, right now, in this very moment, God is extending His hand toward you. The door is open, the train is at the station. Your breakthrough isn't coming someday, it's here, waiting for your response. Third, your assignment isn't just personal, it's generational. You're not being called to receive blessing for yourself alone. You're being commissioned to become a blessing that flows through generations. Your obedience today determines not just your tomorrow, but your children's children's inheritance. But here's what I need you to know with absolute certainty. You are not walking this path alone. The God who parted the Red Sea is still parting ways for you. The God who provided manna in the wilderness is still your provider today. And right here, in this community of believers, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your journey, who felt the same calling, who are ready to stand with you in prayer and support. We see you. We believe in you. We will intercede for you. So let me ask you this final question, and let it settle deep in your soul. If you knew that God was going to use the remaining years of your life to impact eternity, how would you live differently starting tomorrow morning? Now, before I release you into your destiny, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of 5 decades walking with the Almighty. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see their hearts. You know their struggles. You've counted every tear they've cried in secret, every prayer they've whispered in the dark, every moment they've wondered if anyone truly sees them. Father, I pray that you would breathe fresh wind into their weary bones tonight. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are chosen. Where they feel too old, show them they are right on time. Where they feel unqualified, reveal to them the authority you've been building through every trial. God, open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them dreams so vivid they can't ignore them, and make their path so clear that even their doubts cannot obscure it. Protect their families, Lord. Heal their bodies, restore their finances, mend their relationships, and most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know beyond any shadow of doubt that they are loved, they are seen, and they are never, ever alone. Use their remaining years not just for their benefit, but for your glory. Let their lives become lighthouses that guide others safely to shore. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Now, chosen one, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share what God spoke to your heart today. What shift did you feel in your spirit? What door is He opening for you? Ask us to pray for specific areas of your life. This community will surround you with intercession. And if this message touched your soul, if you felt the Spirit moving through these words, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. There's a person in your life right now, maybe a neighbor, a family member, a friend who's been feeling that same stirring, that same calling. They need to know they're not alone. They need to know their time isn't over, it's just beginning. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting God speak, for being brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, your greatest chapter is still ahead of you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. Every week, we're diving deeper into God's heart for His chosen ones, unpacking the calling on your life, and building a community of believers who refuse to accept that their best days are behind them. Until we meet again, remember, you are chosen, you are commissioned, you are not alone, and your one day starts now. Walk in the authority of who you are. The kingdom is counting on you. God bless you, warrior. Your time is now.